You do know what he thinks about the tax code because about 6 weeks ago he came out publicly with his tax reform plan, and it goes from 7 brackets to 3 brackets, a middle-class tax relief. He would reduce all these regulations. Obama's passed more than 600. Hillary would do more than that.
Could you pull NOL's effectively losses forward for 18 years?
You can now. It's been around since 1918. It's 100 years on the books. By the way, if this was such a rankling issue for President Obama, why the heck is it still the law? I'll tell you why it's the law.
It's like 20 years now. It's not even 18.
Right, because that's right. Because it's the reason that President Obama has never uprooted, the reason that when he had a Democratic House and Senate for his first 2 years, they never took this up, Andrew, for a reason.
There are some companies that are around today because of that. It was beneficial that they were able to do that.
And in the year he took it, the New York Times reports this morning, in 1995, 500,000 individuals in this country leverage that same provision. It's not a loophole. It's a provision in the tax code. It's been around for 100 years.
Is it a provision that would be stricken? I mean, we talk about complete overhaul of corporate and personal taxes, and I think that's something a lot of people in America, even on both sides of the aisle, would like to see, a simpler tax code. He has proposed stripping a lot of that down, but there's still all these weird things that nobody knew about, these arcane issues in the tax code. Would all that get stripped out too?
There are plenty of arcane issues, and he has promised to make it simple. Everybody loves to talk about, they stack up the tax code in front of you to see how, and it's meant to confuse and vex. And frankly, he also wants to reduce, he says that the only people who, I heard him the other night again, the only people who will be upset with with his tax reform plan are the tax accountant preparers because they'll go out of business.
He's talked about HR block.
So the next debate to look forward to after the Veep debate, what is that on? Sunday, right? Okay, so is there a different approach being talked about? For example, in this tax situation here, the next debate, just for example, I could see saying something like, they ask about his taxes, and he says, look, is paying the normal operating rate on $16 million from Laureate University and leveraging government service to accrue hundreds of millions of dollars
it's not clear that was the case.
Okay, but we know that there's hundreds of millions. If you go into politics, you don't go into politics to make money. Harry Truman said you don't make money if you go into politics unless you're
unless you're the Clintons, I think Harry Truman said.
So instead of saying, look, I was doing all this, at least it was in the private sector.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right. And creating jobs, by the way, creating jobs.
Bogged down for 10 minutes talking about why he did this and how he did this, and I did like the last debate.
It's a great point. And if that were not on the minds of many Americans, Joe, she would be ahead by 50 points, the way she says, because the fix is in for her. She's got all the advantages. She has all the king's horses, all the king's men, all the media coverage. But something's nagging people. Even in these most recent polls, CNN came out with a poll last night. She only has 53% of women. How in the world is that the first female president? There's something holding people back. And to your point, if you haven't brought a company public, if you haven't hit the Powerball, if you haven't inherited the money, people should know how you made that money.
My point was he should use my point.
My point was not about the point. It was about the way he last time focused on his own. He seemed defensive.
But focus on hers. You're absolutely right. By the way, I'd love to see, to everybody's question about what would she do about the NOLs, what would she do about this 100-year-old provision, maybe we'd know how she feels about it if we got the transcripts to the speeches she gave to Wall Street. I have a feeling she's very fond of this provision in those speeches where she made gazillions of dollars.
You think she talks about NOLs in
I don't think so. No, I think they're even more boring than that.
If we could get, here's a question. If we could get you the transcripts of those speeches, would Donald Trump release his tax records?
I don't you get that, and I'll raise you her 33,000 emails.
I don't understand why, as a citizen, you're not
33,000 emails.
We're using all the transparency of her tax records, but we have no idea what his tax records are.
Nobody confuses her with being transparent about very much. She set up an illegal email server to keep information secret and ended up compromising your national security.
Kellyanne, that was another point in the debate where she was saying, I think he's hiding something. And the irony of that statement didn't occur to your candidate to say that would have stopped the whole debate right then and said, you're just asking me whether I'm in the business of hiding things? Wouldn't that have been your response instead of honoring that request and then going back and talking about yourself and what you've done? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and he does a great job of that in our conversations, in our debate prep. And the fact is that he was way too gracious to her. And I think you're making the same point. He got no credit whatsoever for being incredibly gracious to her at the beginning. And what should I call you?
Is the next one going to get
I think the next
tougher?
I'm sorry, Becky. I think the next one's a great format for him, the town hall format. I mean, he loves being with people. He's out there every day with people. He's had, I just saw the statistic, excluding yesterday, he's had 350,000 people at his rallies just since the conventions. She's had like 13,500, according to a statistic this weekend. That makes sense. I mean, he shows up somewhere and we have 10,000 people in the venue and 5,000 people outside the venue trying to get in. She shows up, she's got like 300, 500, looks like a professor having a lecture. Right. So, and these crowds matter because he's very used to engaging with people, which is the town hall format.
Hey CNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Here you're going to find videos packed with all of the information that you need to be smarter about your finances. You can subscribe by clicking right here and click on all the videos around me or the I right here to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.